And I'm hearing more stories in my industry of e-commerce, people making a lot of money in their homes with no really human interaction. If you see a lot of these guys on YouTube or wherever you find these in Facebook, and they talk about, oh, I make all this money, look at my Lamborghini, like that. It's a facade. They're living an empty life. And I don't care how much money you have, if you're not living, interacting, and communicating, then you don't know exactly what's going on. And it's really tough to understand that and have that interaction that's so essential just to live in a healthy lifestyle.
Live from the Purple Cow Branding Studios.
This is Network Today. If you haven't ever joined us, know that we're all about taking you for meeting people too.
Making money.
And I'm Cheryl Powers with co-host
Rob Bliss.
That's right. We're here to help answer some of these weighty questions and certainly serious issues. And this one came to light from my friend, Cash Riley Jr., who posted on LinkedIn. And I don't know if we'll be able to share that link, but it was such a great article about reviving humanity. And humanity was kind of lost during the whole COVID thing. For most people, I know you were different. For me, it was a very short time. There are some people that I know that are still just trying to come out.
Right. Yeah.
Like, isn't that nuts?
Yes, I cannot relate to that. But
it's not normal. It's not normal.
But Cheryl, this is a very important subject because I really think to be successful in networking, you've got to go belly to belly to build those relationships. Yes, I am a believer in Zoom. I think video conferencing is a great tool. It can be very effective, but it still is not better than good old belly to belly.
It isn't. And because it's all about, again, reviving humanity. Humanity equals relationships. And there's only one way to really build a good relationship. I mean, think about all the scammers. Yeah. Think about all the scammers that, especially during COVID, started preying on people who were lonely, people who were old. What did they rely on? Scammers. What did they rely on? Phone?
Oh.
Text? Facebook? Social media? Yep, email. So they rely on that non-personal communication.
Right.
Why? Because it allows them to be dishonest, to hide themselves. So here's a great article, and this is from postplanner.com. This is what I did. I went and searched. So this was my Google search if you want to go do your own. And that was face-to-face networking articles, I think I put in. And this one from Post Planner, I don't know the date on it, but I really liked it because it starts out with, the title of it is 5 benefits of face-to-face networking that are way more valuable than you think. And this sounds so super simple, but it's the truth. And don't we want truth? Mm-hmm. People want truth. Okay. So 5 benefits of face-to-face. Number 1, getting honest feedback. Now think about that. If you're on Zoom with somebody, or you're sitting in a coffee shop over coffee with someone, are you going to feel that they're more or less honest, one versus the other?
Well, I just think from a body language point of view, when you're there in person, you can really see the real deal. Versus on Zoom, you can hide, your backdrop and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, it's much more authentic being in person.
Yeah. Zoom can even put lipstick on you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So that you can make yourself into what you want. And so I had to look up the word honesty. It's the quality or condition of being honest, obviously. I thought that was, how can honest be in the definition of honesty? But having integrity, being truthful and sincere.
Well, you get, again, from a personal level, when you're there belly to belly in person, you can see the mannerisms. You can see their body language.
Yeah.
Where, in Zoom, you could only have it where you can see their head, shoulders up or head up. But the real deal, right? You're seeing how their body language, which I think is very important in getting to know somebody.
Yep, it is. And you have a great example of that internally in your office because you bring everybody in and they might do some remote stuff, right? But there's no way to build a team.
Right.
If you actually don't have people like interacting with one another in person, face to face. So I thought that was really good. I'm going to give you number 2, and then we'll go through 3, 4, and 5 after our amazing guest speak with Cash Riley Jr. on this reviving humanity subject, because it's pretty high level, but it's really basic altogether. So showcasing your personality is number 2.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
So that's not a problem for you. Sometimes it might be for me. Can you believe that I'm an extra introvert?
Well, I am too. I'm, yes. When I was in college, I was in the library every day, and I did not talk to anyone because I was afraid to go up to them, ask a question, see what the assignment was, whatever. 3 years of college, didn't approach one person.
Wow. Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, okay. So it happens to everybody.
Yes.
So, right. That's
Yes.
the deal. So you can showcase your personality in person far greater than you can on Zoom or through text or email. I'm very texty too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are like, Cheryl, can't you pick up the phone? I'm like, I'm trying to do 5 things at once, and that's the only way I can do it efficiently. But I do miss people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where networking can be. So just make it an intentional effort to actually schedule X number. I think there should be a goal of in-person meetings that are not with a decision maker, but purely with your sphere of influence, your peer-to-peer network. So that will help keep you engaged. And to the discussion that we had with Mike Rose, energize.
Yes.
All right. So those are the first 2. We'll give you the next 3 after the guest, and Rob will close with his 3 action items. So this is such an exciting discussion for me, because this gentleman that we have here, Rob, and I don't know if I told you this, but we were actually in the trenches in radio together.
Yep.
Cash Riley, the ultimate entrepreneur.
Yeah. Sometimes. It's a lot of learning lessons along the way that kind of get you there. So.
Well, and we were in radio when? How long ago was that together?
Man, why would you do this on camera?
Was that 2000,
so
it was like 2005, maybe.
5, 6. And then I finally got out in 09. So yeah,
Yeah.
I spent my time.
We're recovering.
Yes.
So we're recovering. But since then, so I want people to connect with you, Cash. So does Cash Riley Jr.
Yep.
Connect with you on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And kind of walk me through just briefly, like the last 3 entrepreneurial ventures, because I was just catching up and I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of learning lessons along the way that kind of helped me spur along those moments. And the cool thing is that it was all kind of related back to the radio industry and seeing the needs and the gaps that we were missing at that point. And this got me along that entrepreneurial journey of being a forward visionary, right? When you're kind of thinking about new things and thinking about new ideas about ways to kind of better your pitch and better the customer experience, which in our industry was, car dealerships and things of that nature. But the e-commerce and commerce in general was moving so fast that people just didn't understand what I was talking about. And then it was just really hard to understand, like, aren't you getting this? Like, come on, let's go. And they were like, no, like, we can't do that. And like, we're stuck in this way. And I was like, you know what, I'll just figure this out myself, which got me really involved into e-commerce, which is, in my space, I really started focusing on Amazon, developing my own products and bringing those to market. I saw a lot of wasteful spending, a lot of unneeded spending, which got me thinking there's a better, faster way and an easier way to kind of figure out, fail fast.
Yeah.
If this is going to work.
Or faster.
and not have to put a lot of money into the project and also deliver results. And if it works, then we can kind of scale it and grow it out, which got me developed a company called The Machine Agency, which is an Amazon agency, which we help clients on an everyday basis manage their Amazon e-commerce account and then help them scale it accordingly. So small, medium-sized businesses. And through that process, I saw opportunities that I can bring products to market myself in my own e-commerce store, which is CRJR Partners. And in that store, which is on Amazon, I work with various products and we sell those online on Amazon.
Wow.
So we're going to connect the dots here because one of the reasons that I sent you, Rob, do you remember the link I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you read that story?
I did.
Okay, for reviving humanity.
Yeah.
It's like, it sounds like kind of like that's a higher level subject, right? But truly, when you start diving into the article, it was all about loneliness.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my space. But when we started, when I was working in the radio industry, I mean, we were always talking and collaborating, and that's what really spurred the whole idea on in my mind about the article that I was reading by the Surgeon General. Was just like, the next pandemic is loneliness. And I'm like, man, we just came at a very lonely time in our in our lifespans, and now to think that the pandemic now is loneliness, I'm just like, wow, that's a whole nother level, which just got me thinking about my career, my journey, where I started and where I am today.
Wow. Did you happen to read that article?
I did, and the thing I think I've shared with you before on this is the fact that I didn't feel that loneliness during COVID because I was very proactive in staying in touch with people because that's who I was.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go through that loneliness period.
Interesting.
And so when I read, it's an excellent article.
Yeah, thank you.
And yes, I mean, a lot of people are there, but again, it's kind of like the glass is half full or half empty. And I chose, it's half full.
And that's a very profound way of thinking about it and being proactive about it as well. I just think that at that point, people either went that direction or they even went more, just a hermit and this like, I'm hunkering down. And unfortunately it was, many people who were very old or older and they were, scared about their health and about, contracting anything. So it put them even deeper into it. And then a lot of people started doing Zoom calls and all these other things. And they became lonely, but they thought they were interacting with the world, but they were really just interacting with the screen. Yeah. And they weren't having that human touch and interaction, which is, pivotal for anything that you're doing.
When you're saying that, this is what it sounded like to me. So, when you're a kid and you're hungry and you eat Fruit Loops. Do you make Fruit Loops anymore? Okay, Fruit Loops. We'll say Fruit Loops. I love Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
But as you realized, I ate a bowl of Fruit Loops because I was hungry. Now I'm still hungry, right? Because you're not getting any real nutrition.
Oh, nice.
And that's how I feel about the Zoom calls. Yeah. Like people feel like they're getting a meal, their connection meal there, but there's no real nutrition. There's very little nutritional value.
That's coming from the nutritional space. When I got out of the radio industry, I started several nutritional companies. So when you are speaking to that speaks very deeply to my core because, I mean, you can take a lot of different things and think that you're getting the best out of the best. But quite honestly, if you're not mixing in, a good health, healthy living and things of that nature, you're never going to do it. And that's exactly what Zoom still is today. Yeah. Networking on Zoom calls is not what my idea of networking at all. Kind of like we talked about earlier, but it's one of those things where I think we're all learning what the new normal is and how to, best use our own practices in order just to maintain and just ensure that we're not lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in your article, so you need to, again, go follow Cash Riley Jr. on LinkedIn and find this article with you and your lovely bride, Monique.
Thank you so much.
So you mentioned loneliness and isolation in the same sentence, which are really kind of, loneliness is born out of isolation, I feel like. And I'm going to read this line that I thought was so good from your post here. It is essential that we break free from the confines of our homes and re-engage in meaningful interactions with one another. Yeah. That for me was kind of the hook. When I was like, ooh, we need to talk about this. Yeah, no, that was again all spurred on by just the idea of not only being lonely, but also the isolation of your home. I remodeled a home during COVID in anticipation I was going to spend the rest of my life in this home because there was no getting out of it. And then, through that process, I was just like, not only you just in your home working, providing for your family, but then you're also there living. And it was like 4 walls, just nonstop. And that's where I was excited just to kind of break free of it. And I'm hearing more stories in my industry of e-commerce, people making a lot of money in their homes. With no really human interaction. If you see a lot of these guys on YouTube or wherever you find these in Facebook and they talk about, I make all this money, look at my Lamborghini, it's a facade. They're living in an empty life. And I don't care how much money you have, if you're not living, interacting and communicating, then you don't know exactly what's going on. And it's really tough to understand that and have that interaction that's so
essential just to live in a healthy lifestyle.
It is essential.
It is.
Well, it's to me again, like I said earlier, being proactive. It's like changing the mindset here is that you're responsible for your well-being, and you've got to you got to change. Otherwise, the weight of the world is going to just put you down all the time.
Yes.
And I think this is a key. I think COVID was a key awareness for me of I've got to take charge of my life. I'm not taking it for granted, like before.
Yeah.
Now I'm taking charge of my life. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find, I'm going to find people that have the same view of COVID that I do versus letting the other people bring me down. So I think that really worked for me.
Oh no, I think my epiphany when I was thinking about this and this whole kind of thing came up is when I was running on White Rock Lake. And I'm a runner. I like to run. I think this kind of been my thing the past 6-7 years. Ever since my brother passed away from a heart attack, I was like, I got to live my life. And I started running and just being healthier in general. But I was running and there were people literally running and biking with a mask on.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, what are we doing? Like, this is not what I thought we would ever kind of come to. And I was just like, you got to break free. Whatever is holding you back, you got to be able to live your life. And living it while running and biking with a mask on was just like, wow, that's a whole nother level, to say the least.
That's great.
But yeah.
And are we living if we're not living together? Right? That's the reviving humanity. I'm just going to keep mulling on that.
No, that was huge. I mean, me and my wife met in the radio industry, and if it had not been for the interaction that we had during that time and getting to know one another and having the opportunity just to find out about each other, I would have never been able to not only meet her, but even come close to, being in where I am with my 2 beautiful kids and happy wife and
happy life.
And happy life, to say the least. So yes.
Well, so make sure that you connect with Cash Riley Jr. on LinkedIn. Quick, in 30 seconds, do you have a little known fact that I would go, what in the world? How did I not know that?
Yeah, no. So one thing that I've learned in the past, really since COVID, is that I got to start sharing my story a lot more, right? So one of the things I've always kind of held back but never really told anybody is I played professional baseball. So in doing that, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations to get to that point, but I played for the Dodgers and had a lot of great opportunities along the way to kind of use that time in order to, develop into the person I am today of going at it and figuring it out.
Wow. So what a journey.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful that we're still friends.
Yeah.
All right. So
many years later.
That's right. Cheers to you,
Cheers.
my friend.
Absolutely.
So thankful that you're
Thank
here.
You. Appreciate it.
And we'll be back. So that was so good. And Rob, you said this, and I think it's important we say this out loud.
Absolutely, Cheryl. This was a teachable moment. I mean, what Cash had to say, again, knew it like we all do, but, do we apply it?
Yeah.
And, he just brought that back and I took some great notes. And again, it's just a very powerful, teachable moment.
Yeah. And how can you learn from this? I mean, study the masters. It's what we're trying to do too.
Yeah.
So we're all trying to learn together. Man, so that was just so good. It was so sage. So I want to go through these last items from postplanner.com.
Okay.
On networking face-to-face, because these are really good. Again, super basic, but we have to go back to basic training
Absolutely.
sometimes. So number 3 is building human relationships. Okay. You can't do that effectively over Zoom.
Totally agree with that. Absolutely.
So can't do it over email. And how many times have you emailed a client? Maybe you got a client or a prospect through email, through one of your lead sources, and you could never get them on the phone, but they ordered something from you, right? And you're trying to do everything via email. Maybe you have a couple of phone calls. But in the end, if there's an issue or a competitor comes in, who has the edge? Yeah. The one with a relationship face-to-face or the one with a relationship over the phone?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And we've got to, again, get back to basics. We've got to increase the number of times we're in front of people every week now to build the relationship that we always talk about. Because again, it's what's going to give you what you're talking about, the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you really want to get the edge in networking, have that face-to-face building time with another human being.
Yeah.
So number four on the list of 5 is reading body language. That's another thing that
big deal.
makes me crazy in online sessions when people turn their camera off.
Mm-hmm.
And because, are they really engaged?
Right. No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the negative things about Zoom is that you have that ability to turn the camera off. That they're not listening. They're playing solitaire or whatever. And again, you're never going to you lose that confidence in that person. So, I mean, I think that's the worst thing you can do on Zoom.
Yeah. So, and being able to read somebody's body language is so important because in person, if you see somebody and they won't look at you, this is one of my big deals. Like, I hate when they won't look at me and they look like this. I'm here. I'm here. To me, that says what is it? Is it the Chinese that say like the eyes are the window to the soul or something like they're the ones who tell, that's the truth teller. So I feel like that body language, you can't get that eye to eye contact in Zoom or over the phone like you can in person. So, and it's much more meaningful. So number 5, this is huge. Avoiding misunderstandings. How many times have you had an email that came across to you? I know we've had recent discussions about this.
Right.
That you're like, what does this email mean? What does this mean? I don't know what it means.
Well, I just sent out an email this morning, and as I hit the send button, I really said, you know what? I really should have made this a phone call. I shouldn't have sent an email. And so, yes, I think, in person, a phone call, so much better than text, email.
Yeah. Yeah. Text, email, they're tools. Sometimes you have to have things in writing, but boy, oh boy, again, when you sit down with somebody, especially if maybe there's just an uncomfortable conversation in networking, maybe it's with a quasi-competitor.
Right.
And they feel like, I had this with an attorney one time, right? Because one of the services we offer is a legal service. So they felt like I was like impeding on their ground. And I'm like, I'm not at all. We're complementing each other. We need each other. So when I said, I'm going to make you go to lunch with me, and he says, Cheryl, this is the greatest thing since ground coffee. I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't exactly that, but we became great friends.
Wow.
We're now 5 years down the road being great friends, but it took that face-to-face lunch.
Yeah.
It took that conversation so that we could avoid the misunderstandings.
Right.
So I know I've sent things out too that I'm like, uh-oh, where's the recall button on that one? So anyway, so those are 1 through 5 on postplanner.com. Give us some action items as we wrap this up.
Okay, everybody. Number 1, have a plan. Meeting people in person, so important. So book your appointments a week or so ahead of time. People's schedules, I'm finding, Cheryl, are getting pretty busy nowadays. Yeah. And so you've got to kind of book them out.
Yeah.
So book your one-on-ones, very important. And again, make sure they're in person, not through a Zoom call.
Yeah. Can I interject there?
Yes.
They should be a priority. One-on-ones in person, when we book them, we need to make them a priority.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Good
Not
point.
just another appointment on there.
Right.
I'm guilty of that, where I'm just kind of cranking through them. But if we make them a priority, do a little research on them. Think about that person in advance.
And that brings up that teachable moment we had last week with Mike Rose on the return on energy, the ROE.
Right.
Again, we've got to become more visionary. And again, one-on-ones are perfect for that. Plan them ahead of time and make sure you set your goal, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever your magic number is, set that goal. But again, belly to belly every week is so important.
Your new B2B.
Number 2 is follow up. Again, we've probably said this so many times in our episodes, but again, this is the key. This is the key to make you stand out from the other one-on-ones that are people having, is really show that person that you are a true professional, that you people love that extra touch of having a thank you card in the mail. So important. But even if it's just through email or just an email, it's important to follow that meeting up so that the person doesn't think you're going to ghost them or so on, which we see so often happening now in networking.
Yeah. Yep.
And the last one, Cheryl, number 3 is focus on your immediate community, whether that be 25, 50, 100 people. But go belly to belly with them, not just one time, but take the time throughout the year. Some people might need once a month. Some people might be every 6 months. Some people might just be once a year. But it is important that you touch people in person at least one time a year. And this is your immediate community.
Yep. And we'll have other episodes that talk about the efficiency of scheduling all of those, because I know it can feel a little overwhelming, but truly, face-to-face will net you 10 times more
Absolutely.
than making a phone call. I say, let's just not make a phone call. Let's just wait. Right? Let's save everybody the dialing time. So I want a better return on my energy.
There you go.
That's what I want. So we want you to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, and that is Network Today Podcast. You're going to find it there. We're building it. It's only been open a couple of weeks, and it's important to us, too, that we hear from you. So feel free to comment on it. Email us, info@networktodaydfw.com. All right, Cheryl Powers and
Rob Bliss.
Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to
making money
faster. See you next week.
This has been a Purple Cow production.